All right, let's talk about Canada, the country that's so polite, we apologize when someone bumps into us. Now, imagine one of our biggest, most vibrant provinces, Quebec, deciding it might want to pack its bags and start its own country. That's the heart of the Quebec independence movement. It's about the idea that Quebec, with its own language, its own culture, a history that stretches back long before Canada was even a twinkle in a politician's eye, should be its own nation. This isn't just some fringe idea, it's a deep-seated feeling for millions of Quebecers who see themselves as a distinct society. The whole thing boils down to one word: identity. For centuries, French-speaking Quebecers have fought to keep their language and culture alive surrounded by English-speaking North America. It's like being the only poutine stand at a kale convention. The dream, a French-speaking nation, Pays du Québec, standing on its own 2 feet on the world stage. On the other side, you've got the Federalists. Folks who believe we're stronger together. A national identity crisis played out on the grandest stage. So, how did we get here? How did things get so serious? Well, you have to rewind to the 1960s, a period in Quebec known as the Quiet Revolution. Before this, Quebec was a very traditional conservative place, heavily influenced by the Catholic Church. But then, a new generation came along and said, hold on a minute. They wanted to modernize everything. They took control of their healthcare and education systems from the church, and a new sense of Quebecois pride and nationalism exploded. It was less quiet and more like a dam breaking. People started to think, if we can run our own province, why can't we run our own country? This new energy gave birth to the Parti Québécois, or PQ, a political party with one main goal: get Quebec out of Canada. And leading the charge was a man named René Lévesque. Now, Lévesque was a chain-smoking, charismatic former journalist who became the face of the movement. He wasn't some wild-eyed radical, he was a premier. In 1976, the PQ won the provincial election, which was a political earthquake. Suddenly, the people who wanted to leave Canada were running the government in Quebec. It was like finding out your cousin who always joked about moving to Mars just got elected president of NASA. And so we come to the first big vote, the 1980 referendum. The question was a bit of a mouthful, asking for a mandate to negotiate sovereignty association. It was a strategic move by René Lévesque. He wasn't asking for a clean break right away. He was essentially asking, can we have your permission to go talk to the rest of Canada about becoming independent? While still keeping our economic ties, it was meant to be less scary. The oui side, led by Lévesque, painted a picture of a confident, mature Quebec taking its place among nations. They filled stadiums with passionate supporters, waving the fleur-de-lis flag, chanting for a country of their own. On the other side, the non-campaign, led by Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Trudeau was a fierce federalist and a brilliant orator. He traveled across Quebec, arguing Canada was Quebec's home and its future was brighter within the Federation. He promised that if Quebec voted no, he'd work to reform the Constitution to better recognize Quebec's unique character. It was a battle of two titans, Lévesque versus Trudeau. The non-side warned of economic chaos, a devalued dollar, and the heartbreak of tearing a country apart. When the votes were counted on May 20th, 1980, the result was decisive. The non-side won with 59.56% of the vote.
If I've understood you correctly, you're telling me until next time.
That unresolved wound would fester and set the stage for a more dramatic showdown 15 years later. Fast forward to 1995. The constitutional wounds from the 1980s never really healed. Attempts to bring Quebec into the constitutional fold had failed spectacularly. Jacques Parizeau, a hardliner who wanted full, unambiguous independence. This time the question was simpler and stakes were higher. A straight-up vote on whether Quebec should become a sovereign country. This was it, the big one. No turning back. At first, the non-side had a comfortable lead in the polls. Then, the Oui campaign brought in a new secret weapon, Lucien Bouchard. He took over the campaign and, almost overnight, the tide began to turn. The Oui side surged. The polls tightened. Suddenly, Oui could actually win. Panic set in across the rest of Canada. In the final days before October 30th, the Federalist side staged a massive unity rally in Montreal. Tens of thousands came from other provinces, flew in, drove in, came by bus. The province and the country were on a knife's edge. The night of the vote was a nail-biter. Results trickled in. The two sides traded the lead by fractions of a point. Final tally, 50.58%, number 49.42%. Yes, the difference, just over 54,000. Canada had survived, but only by a whisker, and the question never truly goes away.